In the quiet moments of the night, when the noise of the world finally fades, many of us find ourselves staring at the ceiling, burdened by questions that have no easy answers. Why does life feel so heavy? Why do relationships hurt even when they are supposed to bring joy? Why does money slip through our fingers no matter how hard we work? Why does anxiety sit like a stone on our chest, refusing to move? These are not rare questions. They are the quiet whispers of millions, carried silently in the hearts of people across America and beyond. If you are listening now, perhaps you carry them too. Life in the modern world is fast, loud, and demanding. We chase deadlines, climb ladders, compare ourselves endlessly, and yet the sense of peace we long for feels further away than ever. Stress gnaws at our health. Money worries dominate our thoughts. Our connections with loved ones feel fragile, misunderstood, or broken. The more we try to hold on, the more life seems to slip through our hands. And in the middle of this struggle, a quiet fear grows inside us. Maybe this is all there is. Maybe peace is out of reach. But what if there was another way? What if the very struggles that weigh us down could become the stepping stones to freedom? What if the sleepless nights, the endless worries, and the broken relationships were not punishments, but invitations? Invitations to see life differently, to step through a doorway that has always been open, waiting for us to notice. This doorway is ancient, yet timeless. It is not about religion or blind belief. It is about wisdom that has been tested for centuries. Wisdom that speaks to the human heart, no matter where you were born, no matter what you believe. This is the wisdom of the Buddha, the path of mindfulness, compassion, and letting go. Do not imagine a distant monk sitting alone on a mountain, untouched by the world. Imagine instead a guide who sits beside you in your kitchen while bills pile up on the table. Imagine a teacher who walks with you as you argue with your partner, or sit in traffic, or scroll endlessly through your phone, searching for comfort that never comes. The teachings of the Buddha are not about escaping life, but about transforming the way we live it. They show us how to breathe in the middle of chaos, how to release what hurts, how to see clearly when our minds are clouded by fear. This journey we are about to take together is not theoretical. It is not abstract. It is about you, your stress, your money worries, your relationships, your anxiety. Each part of this journey will speak to one of these struggles, not to shame you, but to remind you that you are not alone. These are human struggles shared across time and culture. And for each struggle, there is a seed of wisdom waiting to grow inside you. A seed that can become peace, resilience, clarity, and love. As we move through these teachings, you will hear stories that mirror your own life. You will hear about the pain we all carry, and you will hear the simple, practical ways to transform that pain. Some of these lessons may sound familiar, like echoes of something you have always known but forgotten. Others may surprise you, challenging the way you see the world. But all of them point to the same truth. Suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of awakening. Tonight, let this be your refuge. A space where you can put down the burden, even for a little while, and listen. Let the words guide you gently toward a new way of seeing. And when you rise tomorrow, may you carry even a small spark of peace into the noise of your life. For peace is not found somewhere far away. It begins here, now within you. The day begins with the alarm. A shrill sound breaks the silence of morning, pulling you out of dreams and into a reality that already feels heavy. You grab your phone. Notifications flood the screen, emails, reminders, breaking news. Before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is running. The weight of the unfinished tasks presses on your chest. You take a deep breath, but instead of relief, the breath feels shallow, almost tight. This is how many of us begin our days. Not with peace, but with stress. Stress has become so common that we almost accept it as normal. We joke about it. We say, "I'm so stressed," the same way we might say, "I'm so hungry." But behind the casual words lies a quiet desperation. Stress is not just a mental state. It affects our bodies, our hearts, our relationships. It shows up as tension in the shoulders, headaches that don't go away, restless sleep, or snapping at the people we love. It shows up as constant distraction, the inability to sit still, the feeling that time is always slipping away faster than we can catch it. Stress tells us that no matter what we do, it is never enough. The modern world feeds this stress at every turn. We live in a culture that praises busyness, as if running faster somehow proves our worth. We scroll through endless feeds, comparing our messy lives to the polished images of others. We chase productivity, chasing numbers, chasing status, chasing a sense of control that never quite arrives. And yet, no matter how fast we run, the finish line moves further away. We tell ourselves, "If I just finish this project, then I'll rest. If I just earn this much money, then I'll relax. If I just get through this week, then I'll breathe." But when the project is done, when the paycheck arrives, when the week ends, another challenge is waiting. Another fire to put out, another storm to survive. Stress is not just a part of life anymore. It has become the background noise of existence. In this storm of constant demands, we lose something precious. We lose the ability to truly live the moment we are in. How often do you eat a meal without tasting it? Your mind somewhere else? How often do you talk to a friend or a child, but only half listen because you are already thinking about what comes next? Stress steals the present from us. It convinces us that life is always happening somewhere else, in the next task, the next appointment, the next achievement. But the present moment, the only place where life truly happens, slips away unnoticed. Perhaps you have felt this. Perhaps you feel it now. The racing mind, the restless body, the constant pressure that never lets you rest. If so, know this. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human, living in a world that has forgotten how to pause. The truth is, stress is not your enemy. Stress is a signal. It is your body and mind crying out for attention, whispering to you that something is out of balance, something needs care. The question is not whether you can eliminate stress completely, because life will always bring challenges, but whether you can relate to it differently, whether you can transform it from a chain that binds you into a teacher that guides you. This is where the wisdom of the Buddha enters like a quiet lantern in the dark. The Buddha lived in a very different time, long before smartphones and traffic jams. But the human mind was the same then as it is now. People worried about the future. They carried regrets about the past. They feared loss, illness, death. They longed for happiness, stability, and peace. And what the Buddha discovered was not just a way to escape suffering, but a way to live with clarity and freedom, even in the middle of it. His teachings do not require you to withdraw from life. They invite you to engage with life more deeply, with awareness, with compassion, with courage. One of the central teachings is mindfulness, the practice of being fully present, awake to the moment as it is. In times of stress, our minds spin into the future or sink into the past. We replay conversations. We imagine disasters. We create endless what-if scenarios. Mindfulness calls us back. It says, here is your breath. Here is your body. Here is the ground beneath your feet. You do not need to solve the entire future right now. You only need to be here. And in this here, stress begins to soften. The body loosens. The breath deepens. The mind clears. Imagine this. You are sitting at your desk, overwhelmed by deadlines. The stress is thick, your chest tight. In that moment, you pause. You place your hand on your belly. You breathe in slowly, deeply. You feel the rise. You breathe out slowly, fully. You feel the fall. You do this 3 times. Just 3 breaths. In those moments, the world does not change. The deadlines are still there. The emails still wait. But you change. You shift from being consumed by stress to being aware of it. You step out of the storm, even while standing in the rain. This is the gift of mindfulness. It does not erase challenges, but it gives you space. And in that space, peace can enter. Another teaching is impermanence. Stress convinces us that the pressure will last forever, that the weight will never lift. But the truth is, everything changes. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. This means that every situation, every feeling, every storm will pass. Think back to a time you were overwhelmed. At that moment, it felt endless. But here you are, having passed through it. The same is true now. The stress you feel will shift. It will soften. It will end. Remembering impermanence helps us breathe more easily. It reminds us not to drown in the moment, because the moment will change. Compassion is another doorway out of stress. Often, we are hardest on ourselves. We say, why can't I handle this better? Why am I so weak? Why do I keep failing? These harsh voices only deepen our stress. But the Buddha taught that just as we offer compassion to others, we must offer it to ourselves. Imagine holding a crying child. You would not scold them. You would hold them gently, soothe them, remind them they are safe. What if you treated your own stressed mind the same way? What if, instead of judgment, you offered yourself kindness? What if you said, this is hard, and I am doing my best? Compassion softens the edges of stress. It turns the inner critic into an inner friend. And from that place of kindness, strength grows. There is also the teaching of letting go. Stress often clings to control. We want everything to go according to plan. We want people to act as we expect. We want life to unfold neatly. But life is not neat. People surprise us. Plans fail. Accidents happen. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. The tighter we grip, the more we hurt when things slip away. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means loosening the grip. It means allowing life to be life, rather than fighting against what we cannot control. Imagine holding a rope that is burning your hands. The instinct is to grip tighter, but the freedom comes from letting go. In the same way, when we loosen our grip on control, stress loosens its grip on us. These teachings, mindfulness, impermanence, compassion, letting go, are not theories. They are tools. Tools you can use every day in the middle of ordinary life. You do not need a monastery. You do not need special robes or rituals. You only need willingness. Willingness to pause, to breathe, to see differently. And in this willingness, you discover that peace is not far away. It is right here, waiting beneath the surface of your stress. But perhaps you wonder, can something so simple really change my life? Let me tell you this. Simplicity is not weakness. Simplicity is strength. The most powerful truths are often the simplest. A single mindful breath can shift the course of a day. A single act of compassion can soften years of self-criticism. A single moment of letting go can release a burden carried for decades. Do not underestimate the small steps. As the Buddha said, drop by drop, the bucket is filled. In the same way, moment by moment, your life can be filled with peace. And here lies the heart of it. Stress is not the enemy. Stress is a messenger. It is life telling you, pay attention. Something needs care. When you listen to this messenger, with awareness, with compassion, With the wisdom of impermanence and the courage to let go, stress becomes a teacher. It becomes the very path that leads you to freedom. As we close this first step of the journey, imagine standing at the edge of a forest. Behind you is the world of constant noise, constant pressure, constant running. Before you is a path quiet, shaded, lined with lanterns. This path is the path of wisdom. It does not promise that storms will disappear, but it promises that you will no longer be lost in them. You will learn to walk with clarity, with peace, with strength. And as you take the first step, know this: you are not alone. Countless others have walked before you. Countless others walk beside you now. Together we move forward, and forward we must go, because stress is only the beginning. Beyond it lies another challenge, one that grips even tighter: the struggle with money, with survival, with the endless chase for security. That is where we will go next, carrying with us the tools we have gathered: the breath, the awareness, the compassion, the courage to let go. The storm of stress is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. It hides beneath the surface of daily life, a smile on the outside, a racing heart on the inside. Many people carry this hidden storm, pretending to manage, pretending to be fine, while inside they are barely holding on. This silent stress can be even heavier because it is carried alone. You may know this feeling: the pressure to look strong, the fear of being judged if you admit how much you struggle. And so you swallow the tension, bury it deep, and hope no one notices. But your body notices, your spirit notices, and the weight does not go away. The Buddha once spoke about the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain of life, the stress, the difficulty, the pressure. But the second arrow is the one we fire at ourselves: the shame, the judgment, the harsh words we tell ourselves about that stress. I should be stronger. I shouldn't feel this way. Something must be wrong with me. The first arrow hurts. The second arrow is optional, yet most of us fire it again and again. The practice begins when we learn to put down the second arrow, to say, "This is hard, and it is okay to feel it." That single act of acceptance can transform the way we carry stress. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It does not mean giving up. It means looking directly at the storm instead of running from it. It means acknowledging, yes, this is here. Stress grows when we resist it, when we fight it, when we pretend it should not exist. But when we name it, when we shine the light of awareness on it, it begins to lose its power. Imagine walking into a dark room. At first, everything feels overwhelming, frightening. But when you turn on a light, you see what is really there. The shadows lose their threat. Awareness is that light. It reveals stress as it is not as an unstoppable monster, but as a temporary state, a passing storm. This is why mindfulness practice often begins with the body. Stress is not only in the mind. It shows itself in tight jaws, clenched fists, shallow breaths. When you bring awareness to these places, you begin to release the grip. A simple practice is called body scanning. Sit quietly. Close your eyes if you wish. Start at the top of your head. Notice the forehead tight or relaxed. Notice the jaw clenched or soft. Move down to the neck, the shoulders, the chest, the belly. At each point, simply notice. You do not need to fix. You simply acknowledge. And often, in the very act of noticing, the body softens. The shoulders drop. The breath deepens. Stress begins to melt away, not because you forced it, but because you allowed space for it to move. Another practice is mindful walking. In the middle of a stressful day, step outside if you can. Feel the ground beneath your feet. With each step, silently say, here. Step again. Say, now. Here. Now. Step by step, you bring your scattered mind back to the present. Stress often comes from carrying the weight of tomorrow or dragging the weight of yesterday. But when you walk mindfully, you walk only this step, only this moment. You realize you do not need to carry the whole world. You only need to carry this step, and that is possible. That is always possible. But what about when stress comes not from within, but from others? The boss who piles on work, the partner who does not understand, the friend who demands too much. Life is full of people who trigger stress. And the Buddha's teachings offer guidance here as well. One teaching is about right speech. Stress often multiplies in the words we speak and the words we hear. Harsh words, angry tones, constant complaints, they add fuel to the fire. But words spoken with mindfulness can calm the storm. Instead of reacting with anger, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If not, silence may serve better. This is not weakness. It is strength, the strength to choose peace over reaction. And when others speak harshly to you, remember the teaching of compassion. Often, people act from their own stress, their own pain. Their words are not always about you. They are reflections of their own suffering. This does not mean you must accept abuse. It means you can respond without adding more poison. Imagine someone handing you a burning coal. You have a choice. Grasp it and burn yourself, or let it fall. Compassion allows you to let it fall, to see their pain without taking it into your own hands. This practice protects your peace, even when the world around you is turbulent. One of the most profound teachings the Buddha gave is the Four Noble Truths. They begin with a simple, clear acknowledgement. Life includes suffering. Stress is part of that. The second truth, suffering has causes. Stress comes from craving, from clinging, from resistance. The third truth, suffering can end. Stress does not have to define you. And the fourth truth, there is a path, a way forward, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. This path includes right understanding, right mindfulness, right effort practical, steps that guide us out of suffering. These truths are not distant philosophy. They are a mirror. They reflect back to us our own lives, our own struggles. They remind us that stress is not a personal failure. It is part of the human condition. And because it has causes, it can be transformed. Consider this story. A man once came to the Buddha, frantic with worry. His crops had failed. His family was struggling. His mind was restless. He begged the Buddha for help. The Buddha listened and then said, "I cannot help you with your 83 problems, but I can help you with the 84th. The man was confused. What is the 84th problem? The Buddha replied, that you think you should not have any problems. This story cuts to the heart of stress. We believe life should be free of difficulty, that something is wrong if we struggle. But the truth is, problems are part of life. The real suffering comes when we insist they should not be. When we accept that challenges will come, stress loses its sting. We stop fighting reality, and in that surrender, we find freedom. This does not mean we stop working for change. It means we approach change from a place of peace, not panic. Imagine two people carrying buckets of water up a hill. One struggles, cursing every step, consumed by stress. The other breathes deeply, aware of each step, accepting the weight. The hill is the same. The buckets are the same. But the experience is completely different. This is the power of perspective. The outer challenge remains, but the inner response transforms everything. And so we return to you. Your stress, your hidden storms, your restless nights. They are not signs that you are failing. They are invitations. Invitations to practice mindfulness. Invitations to remember impermanence. Invitations to offer yourself compassion. Invitations to let go of what you cannot control. Each stressful moment is a chance to step onto the path of freedom. Not tomorrow, not someday. No, this very moment. Take a breath, feel it rise, feel it fall. You are alive, you are here. And in this breath, there is already peace. It may be small, like a single candle in the dark, but even one candle can light a room. And from that candle, another can be lit, and another, until the darkness is filled with light. This is how transformation happens, not all at once, but breath by breath, step by step, moment by moment. As we close this first part of the journey, carry this with you. Stress is not the enemy. It is the doorway. It is the call to awaken. And you have everything you need to walk through that doorway. The Buddha's wisdom is not locked in temples or hidden in books. It is alive in you, waiting to be remembered. Every breath, every pause, every act of kindness to yourself is a step on the path. And as you take those steps, the storm begins to clear. The sky opens. Peace becomes possible, but life does not stop with stress. There are deeper struggles that follow us, like shadows. One of the heaviest is the struggle with money, how to earn it, how to keep it, how to feel safe in a world where security seems always out of reach. Money stress is not just about numbers. It is about fear, about survival, about identity. It shapes families, relationships, and self-worth. And in the next part of our journey, we will walk straight into this challenge. With the lantern of mindfulness in our hands, we will see how even the chains of money worry can become paths to freedom. The bills arrive with clockwork precision. The rent, the electricity, the credit card. Each envelope feels heavier than paper. Should weigh. You open them with a knot in your stomach, eyes scanning the numbers, calculating, worrying. Will there be enough this month? Will the paycheck stretch far enough? For many, this is not just an occasional worry. It is the constant background noise of life, the hum of financial stress that never goes silent. And even for those who have enough to survive, the fear of losing it, the pressure to earn more, the endless comparisons with others create a tension that money alone cannot dissolve. Money may be pieces of paper and numbers on a screen, but to the human heart, it carries weight far greater. It feels like safety. It feels like freedom. It feels like worth. And so we chase it. We chase more hours, more promotions, more deals, more savings. We tell ourselves that when the account balance is higher, then we will rest. When the debts are gone, then we will breathe. When the dream home is purchased, then we will finally be secure. But the finish line always moves. The debts shrink, but new expenses appear. The promotion comes, but so do larger responsibilities. The dream home is bought, but then we want to fill it with more, to renovate, to upgrade. The hunger never ends. The Buddha called this endless hunger tanha, craving. Craving is not the same as desire. Desire can be natural, like hunger, for food when your body needs it. Craving is the fire that never says enough. It is the whisper that no matter what you have, you must have more. And it is this fire that burns us. Consider the stress money creates in relationships. Couples argue about spending. Parents work long hours, missing time with their children, believing they are providing a better future. Friends drift apart when financial differences create invisible walls of envy or shame. And beneath it all lies fear. Fear of not having enough. Fear of losing what we have. Fear of being judged as less because our possessions do not measure up. These fears erode joy, turning life into a competition rather than a gift. But let us pause here. Let us ask a radical question. What is money, really? Strip away the emotions, the fears, the desires. Money is an agreement. It is a tool we humans created to exchange value. It is not life itself. It is not love. It is not peace. And yet, we hand it the keys to our happiness, as if the rise and fall of a number on a screen could dictate the worth of our existence. The Buddha taught that suffering arises when we confuse tools for truths, when we mistake the means for the end. Money is a means. The end is freedom, peace, happiness. When we forget this, we chase the shadow and miss. The substance. Does this mean we should ignore money? No. The Buddha did not teach recklessness. He spoke often about right livelihood, earning a living in ways that are ethical, honest, and balanced. He taught about generosity, sharing what we have, no matter how little, because giving loosens the chains of greed. He taught about moderation living, not in excess, but in simplicity, where true wealth is measured not by what we accumulate, but by what we need less of. Imagine a man with 10 possessions who desires 20. He is poor. Imagine a man with 5 possessions who desires only 4. He is rich. Wealth is not what sits in the bank. Wealth is the freedom of the heart. There is a story of a king who asked the Buddha for the secret of happiness. The king had vast lands, treasures, servants, everything money could buy. And yet, he was restless, anxious, unsatisfied. The Buddha replied, "A man with 100 wishes will be less happy than a man with 1. The king had more than he could ever use, but his craving left him empty. True happiness, the Buddha said, comes not from multiplying possessions, but from reducing desires. This is the heart of financial freedom, not only earning wisely, but learning contentment. Now, let us bring this into your life. Perhaps you work long hours, feeling exhausted, yet afraid to slow down because the bills demand more. Perhaps you compare your life to neighbors or friends, feeling inadequate when you see their vacations, their cars, their homes. Perhaps you live with debt, the numbers haunting you like ghosts each night. These are real pains. They are not illusions. And yet, the way out is not only through earning more. It is through seeing differently, through practicing mindfulness. With money the same way we practice mindfulness with breath. Mindful money means pausing before spending, asking, do I need this or do I crave this? It means noticing the emotions that rise when you think about money: fear, pride, shame, envy, and meeting them with compassion. It means creating simplicity, not as deprivation, but as liberation. Each item you release, each debt you repay, each craving you let go becomes a step toward freedom. The Buddha once said, "Health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth." And in those words lies a map. You may not control the economy. You may not control your paycheck, but you can cultivate health. You can cultivate contentment. And in that, you may discover you are already wealthier than you thought. Generosity is another practice that transforms money stress. It may seem impossible. How can I give when I barely have enough? But generosity is not only about large amounts. It is about spirit. It is about loosening the tight fist that fear creates. Give a little time. Give a little kindness. Share a meal. Offer a smile. Even a small act of giving reminds you that abundance is not only measured in dollars. It reminds you that you are not poor because you still have something to give. And when you give, the heart expands. Fear shrinks. Stress softens. Generosity is not losing. It is gaining the joy of knowing you are part of something larger than yourself. And what of debt? Debt feels like chains. It keeps the mind restless, the future dark. The Buddhist path offers 2 responses. First, responsibility. Face the debt with clarity. Create a plan, step by step, without denial, without avoidance. Second, compassion. Do not let debt become your identity. You are not your credit score. You are not your balance sheet. You are a human being, breathing, alive, capable of change. The chains of debt may bind your finances, but they do not bind your spirit. Remember impermanence. This too will pass. With each payment, with each small step, you move closer to freedom. Do not measure progress only by numbers. Measure it by courage, by honesty, by the peace that grows when you no longer hide from what frightens you. The deeper truth is this: money stress is rarely about money alone. It is about fear. Fear of scarcity. Fear of losing control. Fear of not being enough. And the antidote to fear is not more money. It is trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in life. Trust in the path of wisdom. The Buddha taught that clinging to wealth. For security is like trying to build a house on shifting sand. The storm will come and the house will fall. True security is built on inner stability, on values, on compassion, on mindfulness, on community. These cannot be stolen. They cannot be devalued. They cannot be lost in a market crash. They are treasures that endure. So ask yourself, what do you truly need? What is enough for you? Where can you release the craving that fuels your stress? Where can you practice generosity that softens your fear? Where can you simplify so that your wealth is measured not in possessions, but in freedom? These are not easy questions, but they are the doorway out of financial suffering. And each step you take is a step toward peace. As we pause here, take a breath together. Breathe in. Feel the air fill your lungs. Breathe out. Release the tension in your chest. In this simple act, you remember that life itself is already a gift, given freely, without price. The sun rises each day without sending a bill. The air surrounds you, abundant and generous. The earth holds you, steady and strong. These are the true foundations of wealth, always present, always available. Money may rise and fall, stress may come and go, but the deeper treasure, the treasure of awareness, of contentment, of compassion, is yours right now, in this very breath. And so, as we continue forward, we will dive deeper into this path. We will explore not only how to loosen the grip of money stress, but how to build a life where peace is not for sale, where worth is not measured by wealth, where freedom is not tied to numbers. This is the journey ahead, and it is waiting for you, step by step, breath by breath. The pursuit of money is like chasing a mirage across the desert. You see the shimmer of water in the distance. You run toward it with all your strength, but when you arrive, the oasis vanishes. Then another shimmer appears farther ahead, and you run again. This cycle repeats endlessly, leaving you exhausted, thirsty, and never satisfied. Modern life tells us the mirage is real, that happiness is always one purchase away, one promotion away, one investment away. Yet when you arrive, it is not there. The Buddha's wisdom reveals the truth. Happiness is not out there. It is not for sale. It is not earned through accumulation. It is cultivated within. This does not mean money is irrelevant. We need food, shelter, clothing. We need resources to support our families, to care for the sick, to educate children. The Buddha never denied this reality. What he pointed out was the difference between needs and cravings. Needs can be met with balance and simplicity. Cravings are endless, demanding, insatiable. When we confuse one for the other, we fall into the trap of endless striving, endless stress. Look at society today. Advertising tells us daily that we are not enough, not thin enough, not rich enough, not successful enough. Each message whispers that peace is only available if we buy one more product, upgrade one more lifestyle. This is how craving multiplies. It is not born within us alone. It is fed by a culture designed to keep us hungry. And yet, the antidote remains the same: mindfulness, to see clearly, to pause before believing the lie that another purchase will finally make us whole. Mindfulness pulls the curtain back, revealing that we are already whole, already complete, already worthy, before the purchase, before the upgrade, before the accumulation. There is a powerful story from the Buddhist tradition. A monk once lived with nothing but a begging bowl and a simple robe. Each morning he walked to the village, received food, and returned to his monastery. One day, a wealthy man asked him, "How can you live with so little? Don't you feel poor?" The monk smiled and replied, "You are the poor one. You wake each day thinking of what you still need. I wake each day grateful for what I already have." This story is not about rejecting wealth. It is about shifting perspective. Poverty is not always the absence of money. Sometimes it is the absence of gratitude. And wealth is not always the presence of riches. Sometimes it is the presence of contentment. Let us pause and imagine. What if you woke tomorrow and, instead of seeing what was missing, you saw what was already here? A roof overhead, a body that breathes, a friend who cares, a meal to eat. Each of these is wealth. Each of these is abundance. Yet when we are blinded by craving, we overlook them. Gratitude is the lens that reveals the riches of life already within reach. And when gratitude grows, money stress begins to shrink. Because suddenly, life is not defined by what you lack. It is illuminated by what you already possess. Generosity, too, deepens this shift. In cultures around the world, generosity is often linked with abundance. Those who have more give more. But the Buddha taught that generosity is not about the size of the gift. It is about the openness of the heart. Even the poorest can give time. Kindness presents a smile. And in the act of giving, fear loosens. Scarcity loses its grip. You remember that life is not about clinging tightly to what you have, but about letting it flow through you. Imagine a river. If water is dammed, it stagnates, grows foul. If it flows, it nourishes, refreshes, sustains. Money, too, when clutched tightly, breeds fear. When shared, it breeds freedom. There is also the teaching of moderation, the middle path. Not excess, not deprivation, but balance. Many believe happiness lies in luxury. Others believe virtue lies in extreme simplicity. The Buddha rejected both extremes. He taught that the path to peace is in the middle, where needs are met, but craving does not dominate. This is a radical message in a world built on extremes: excessive wealth on one end, crushing poverty on the other. The middle path invites us to step out of that cycle, to live simply, honestly, mindfully, to know the difference between enough and too much. But let us be honest. Financial stress is not only about craving. Sometimes it is about survival. For many, the worry is not about upgrading a lifestyle, but about putting food on the table, paying rent, keeping the lights on. These are real struggles, and they cannot be brushed aside with philosophy. The Buddha recognized this. He spoke of right livelihood, not as an abstract idea, but as a way to guide daily work, to choose employment that does not harm others, to earn in ways that align with compassion and justice. When survival is difficult, this path is challenging. But even in hardship, integrity matters. To live in alignment with values, even while struggling, creates a foundation of dignity that money alone cannot provide. And here lies another truth: community is wealth. In times of financial struggle, isolation magnifies suffering. But when people come together sharing meals, supporting each other, lifting burdens, the stress of money softens. The Buddha emphasized Sangha, the community of support, as one of the three jewels of practice. Alone, stress feels unbearable. Together, it becomes lighter. Alone, scarcity feels crushing. Together, generosity creates abundance. This is not just spiritual poetry. It is practical truth. a neighbor who shares food, a friend who helps with childcare, a community that pools resources. These acts transform money stress into connection, and connection is a currency more valuable than gold. Still, even with mindfulness, even with generosity, money stress will arise. The economy shifts, jobs are lost, illness strikes, bills pile up. What then? Then we remember impermanence. Just as joy passes, so does difficulty. Just as seasons change, so will circumstances. Impermanence is not meant to dismiss pain. It is meant to give hope, to remind us that no storm is forever. The darkest night gives way to dawn. The heaviest debt can one day be repaid. The tightest month will eventually pass. Holding this truth allows us to breathe, even in the middle of struggle. It allows us to endure with patience, with faith, with resilience. Perhaps the greatest shift is this: to see money as a servant, not a master. When money serves, it provides shelter, nourishment, opportunity. When money rules, it enslaves. It dictates worth, divides relationships, breeds endless anxiety. The Buddhist path invites us to reclaim money as a tool, nothing more. To work with it wisely, to respect it, but not to worship it. To measure wealth not in possessions, but in peace, not in bank accounts, but in the heart's capacity to love, to give, to rest. So here we are, at the close of this part of the journey. We have walked through the weight of financial stress. We have seen how craving fuels it, how culture feeds it, how fear magnifies it. But we have also seen the lanterns of the path: mindfulness, gratitude, generosity, moderation, community, impermanence. These are not theories. They are practices available to you in this very moment. Take them, use them. And as you do, the chains of money worry begin to loosen. The mirage begins to fade. The desert reveals not an illusion, but the real oasis within the peace of a heart, content with enough dot. And yet, money is not the only source of suffering. Beyond financial stress lies another realm of pain: relationships. The people closest to us can be our greatest source of joy and our deepest well of sorrow. Love, friendship, family, they hold the power to heal or to wound, to lift us or to break us. In the next part of our journey, we will walk into this most intimate of struggles, the pain of human connection. With the wisdom we have gathered so far, we will see how even in heartbreak, in conflict, in loneliness, there is a doorway to compassion, to growth, to freedom. There is no pain quite like the pain that comes from human relationships. A stranger can insult you, and it might sting for a moment. But when a loved one speaks harshly, when a friend betrays trust, when a partner grows distant, the wound cuts deep. Our connections with others are the threads that hold our lives together. And when those threads fray, we feel as if the entire fabric of life is unraveling. We live in a time where connection seems endless. Social media links us to thousands of names, faces, and voices. Phones keep us reachable every hour of every day. And yet, loneliness is rising. Depression, anxiety, and feelings of isolation are at historic levels. How is it possible that we are more connected than ever, and yet feel more alone than ever? The answer lies in the difference between surface connection and true connection. Surface connection is easy: a like on a post, a short message, a casual conversation. But true connection is rare. True connection means being seen, being heard, being understood. It means feeling safe enough to be vulnerable, to show not only your strengths, but also your weaknesses. And this is where many relationships falter. Fear keeps us guarded. Pride keeps us defensive. Old wounds create walls. We crave closeness, but we also protect ourselves from the very intimacy we long for. The Buddha understood this paradox of human connection. He taught that relationships are both a source of joy and a source of suffering. The joy comes from love, friendship, family, compassion. The suffering comes when we cling, when we expect others to complete us, when we demand permanence from what is by nature impermanent. The Buddha said, "All things dear and delightful will change and vanish." This is not a curse. It is reality. And it is in this truth that we can begin to heal our relationships, not by denying their impermanence, but by embracing them fully while they last. Think of a flower. You do not demand that it bloom forever. You appreciate its beauty while it is here, knowing it will one day fade. Imagine if we approached people with the same awareness. We would not cling so desperately. We would not demand perfection. We would not waste so much time on resentment. Instead, we would cherish each moment, each smile, each touch, knowing they are precious precisely because they are not permanent. But relationships are not only lost through impermanence. They are often damaged by conflict, words spoken in anger, misunderstandings that grow into walls, expectations unmet. These conflicts create stress, bitterness, even hatred. Yet the Buddha taught that hatred never ends through hatred. Hatred ends only through love. This is not sentimental advice. It is practical wisdom. Meeting anger with anger only multiplies suffering. Meeting anger with patience, compassion, and clarity can transform it. Consider this story. A man once hurled insults at the Buddha, trying to provoke him. The Buddha remained calm. When the man finally paused, the Buddha asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha said, "In the same way, I do not accept your insults. They remain with you." This is the heart of compassionate distance. We do not need to take every word, every emotion, every projection into ourselves. We can choose what to hold and what to release. This does not mean becoming passive or allowing abuse. Compassion includes boundaries. To love yourself is also to protect yourself. If someone repeatedly harms you, mindfulness may mean creating distance, saying no, walking away. The Buddha's teaching of compassion is not weakness. It is strength. It is choosing to respond wisely rather than react blindly. It is choosing to protect your peace while still wishing others freedom from their suffering. Relationships also suffer because of unrealistic expectations. We want others to make us happy. We want partners to heal our wounds, friends to never fail us, families to always understand us. But no human being can bear this weight. They too are imperfect, struggling, learning. When we demand perfection, disappointment is inevitable. The Buddha taught that clinging to desire is suffering. This includes the desire for others to be what they cannot be. True connection comes when we release the grip of expectation and learn to love others as they are, not as we wish them to be. This is where compassion deepens into empathy. Instead of focusing on how others fail us, we begin to see their struggles, their pain. That harsh word from a partner may come from their own stress, their own fear. That distance from a friend may come from their own battles, invisible to us. This does not excuse harm, but it softens judgment. It allows us to meet others not with blame, but with curiosity, patience, and care. Still, there will be times when relationships end. Friendships drift apart. Marriages dissolve. Families fracture. The pain of loss can feel unbearable. In these moments, the Buddha's teaching on impermanence becomes both the hardest and the most healing truth. Everything that has a beginning has an ending. This is not cruelty. It is the rhythm of life. To grieve is natural. To hurt is human. But to cling endlessly to what is gone is to chain yourself to suffering. Healing comes when you honor the love, honor the moments shared, and then release. Like leaves falling in autumn, relationships change and new seasons arrive. Forgiveness is essential in this process. The Buddha compared holding on to anger to grasping a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing harm. It means releasing the coal. It means choosing not to carry the fire of resentment in your own heart. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is your freedom, and yet perhaps the most important relationship of all is the one with yourself. Many people seek love from others while neglecting self-love. They search for acceptance outside while rejecting themselves inside. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." When you treat yourself with kindness, when you forgive your own mistakes, when you honor your own worth, your relationships with others begin to transform. Because the way you treat yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. As we pause here, let us take a breath. Imagine breathing into the heart, softening the tightness of past wounds. Imagine exhaling resentment, blame, anger. Inhale compassion. Exhale release. This simple practice can be a doorway to healing. Not all at once, not overnight, but step by step, breath by breath. Relationships will always bring both joy and pain. But within the pain lies the seed of growth. Each heartbreak teaches you about impermanence. Each conflict teaches you about compassion. Each betrayal teaches you about boundaries. Each reconciliation teaches you about forgiveness. In this way, relationships are not obstacles to the spiritual path. They are the path. They are the teachers that shape your heart, sharpen your wisdom, and deepen your compassion. And as we continue forward, we will see that relationship pain is deeply connected to another challenge of modern life: anxiety. The restless mind that fears what might happen tomorrow, that clings to what might be lost, that creates suffering even when nothing is wrong in the present moment. Anxiety is the silent partner of stress, money worry, and relationship struggle. In the next part of our journey, we will shine the light of mindfulness on anxiety itself, learning how to loosen its grip and find freedom in the present moment. Love is often spoken of as the greatest joy, yet it can also become the sharpest blade. Relationships bring us laughter, comfort, and warmth, but they also bring us arguments, distance, and heartbreak. The paradox is this: the same bonds that lift us up can also bring us to our knees. The Buddha never denied this truth. Instead, he offered a way to navigate relationships with wisdom, so that love becomes less about clinging and more about freedom, less about possession and more about compassion. Let us begin with attachment. When we fall in love, or when we grow close to someone, our hearts naturally cling. We want to hold the person forever, to keep them from changing, to protect them from leaving. This is natural, but it is also the seed of suffering. Because the truth is, people change, circumstances change, life itself changes. The Buddha called this clinging upadana. When we cling, we create an impossible demand. Stay the same, never leave, never change. And when reality does what? It always does shift, transform, evolve. We feel betrayed. Yet it is not life that betrayed us. It is our refusal to accept impermanence. Imagine holding a bird in your hand. If you grip too tightly, you harm it. If you hold too loosely, it may fly away. The art of love is the art of balance. To hold gently, with care, but without clinging. To love fully in this moment, knowing the next moment may be different. This is not coldness. It is clarity. It is choosing to embrace reality instead of illusion. Conflict arises when our needs collide. A partner wants attention. The other needs space. A parent wants control. The child needs freedom. A friend wants support. The other feels overwhelmed. These collisions can spark anger and resentment. But anger is often a mask for fear, the fear of not being loved, of being abandoned, of not being enough. When you peel back the anger, you find the soft underbelly of longing. And when you respond to that longing with compassion, instead of defensiveness, relationships shift. The Buddha taught that listening deeply is an act of love. Not listening to argue, not listening to prepare your response, but listening to truly understand. When we listen this way, walls crumble, hearts open, healing begins. There is a practice in Buddhism called loving kindness meditation, or metta. In this practice, you silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be safe, may I be healthy, may I be at peace." Then you extend the same wish outward, to a loved one, to a stranger, even to someone who has hurt you. At first, this feels impossible. Why wish peace for someone who caused you pain? But as you practice, you realize, holding hatred chains you to them. Releasing hatred frees you. Loving kindness does not excuse harm. It transforms your heart so that harm does not poison you. When practiced regularly, metta softens resentment and builds resilience. It helps you see others not as enemies, but as fellow humans, also struggling, also longing for peace. But what about betrayal? What about the partner who lies, the friend who abandons, the family member who wounds again and again? These cuts run deep. Forgiveness here feels impossible. Yet forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It is about choosing not to carry the wound into the future. The Buddha compared resentment to carrying a heavy sack of rocks on your back. Each grudge adds weight. Each memory of betrayal adds another stone. Over time, the load becomes unbearable. Forgiveness is setting the sack down. The rocks remain where they are, but you no longer carry them. You walk lighter. You walk freer. Sometimes, however, forgiveness must be paired with distance. Compassion does not mean staying in harmful situations. The Buddha spoke of wise association. Surround yourself with those who lift you, who nurture your growth, who support your peace. If someone consistently brings harm, you may forgive them in your heart while also stepping away. This is not cruelty. It is self-respect. It is choosing an environment where love can grow rather than wither. The deepest wound in relationships is often loneliness. Even surrounded by people, one can feel unseen, unheard, unknown. This loneliness is not solved by more contacts or more conversations. It is eased by presence. To sit with someone fully present, without distraction, without agenda, that is. The medicine. To look into another's eyes and silently say, "I see you. You matter." Presence is rare in a world of noise, but it is the soil where connection grows. And when you offer it to others, you often receive it in return. Still, we must return to the truth. No relationship, no matter how deep, can fill the emptiness if we do not first build a relationship with ourselves. When you reject yourself, no amount of love from others will feel enough. When you abandon yourself, no partner, no friend, no family can heal the wound. Self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation. It is saying to yourself, "I am worthy. I am enough. I am human, imperfect, but lovable." From this foundation, you can love others without losing yourself. From this foundation, you can forgive others without betraying yourself. And so, the Buddhist teachings on relationships are not about eliminating pain. They are about transforming it, to love without clinging, to listen without judgment, to forgive without forgetting your own worth, to walk away when needed, but without hatred, to cherish each moment, knowing it will pass, to return always to compassion for others and for yourself. Let us take a breath now. Inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Think of someone you love. Whisper silently, "May you be at peace." Think of someone you struggle with. Whisper, "May you be at peace." Think of yourself. Whisper, "May I be at peace." Feel the softening in your heart, even if only a little. That softening is the beginning of healing. As we close this part of the journey, remember, relationships will always be messy. They will always bring both joy and sorrow. But within the mess lies the practice. Each relationship is a teacher. Each conflict is a lesson. Each heartbreak is a doorway. And through these doorways, compassion grows, wisdom deepens, love becomes freer, lighter, more enduring. But there is another storm waiting, one that does not come only from outside relationships, but from within the mind itself. It is the restless unease, the endless worry, the racing thoughts that never quiet. It is anxiety, the silent current beneath so many lives. And so, as we move forward, we will turn directly toward this storm. We will see how mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom can untangle the knots of anxiety, offering a path to stillness. Even in the busiest world, there are nights when sleep does not come. You lie in bed, eyes open, body tired, but mind restless. Thoughts chase each other in endless circles. What if I lose my job? What if the test results are bad? What if I said the wrong thing at work today? What if tomorrow brings disaster? This is the voice of anxiety. Unlike stress, which often comes from clear external demands, anxiety arises from within. It is the shadow cast by the mind's habit of predicting danger, rehearsing failure, imagining threats that may never arrive. It whispers constantly, "What if? What if?" Until peace feels impossible. Anxiety is not new. Humans have always lived with uncertainty. But in today's world, the volume is turned up. We are flooded with information. News of tragedy from across the globe reaches us in seconds. Social media offers endless comparisons, feeding insecurity. Jobs feel unstable, economies shift, health crises appear without warning. Our nervous systems, designed to respond to immediate threats like predators in the wild, now struggle under the weight of constant, abstract fears. Anxiety becomes a background hum, an invisible cage. The Buddha described this restlessness of the mind as a monkey, leaping from branch to branch, never still. He saw clearly that much of human suffering comes not from what actually happens, but from the stories we tell ourselves about what might happen. A single worry grows into a forest of fears. A single possibility expands into a nightmare of imagined outcomes. And in this forest, we lose ourselves. But here is the first truth. Anxiety is not who you are. It is a state of mind, a passing weather pattern. Just as the sky holds both storm clouds and clear blue, your mind can hold anxiety without being defined by it. The Buddha taught that. Thoughts are like clouds drifting through the sky. Some are dark, some are light, but none of them stay. The problem arises when we mistake ourselves for the cloud, forgetting the vastness of the sky. Mindfulness is the doorway out of this confusion. When anxiety rises, the instinct is to fight it or to drown in it. Mindfulness offers another option, to observe it, to breathe and say, "Ah, here is worry, here is fear, here is tightness in the chest." Like a curious scientist, you watch, without judgment, and as you watch, something shifts. Anxiety is no longer the master. You are the observer. You are the sky, not the cloud. Try this simple practice. When worry spins in your mind, pause. Place a hand on your chest. Breathe slowly. As you inhale, silently say, breathing in, I calm my body. As you exhale, silently say, breathing out, I release my fear. Repeat this for a few minutes. Notice how the breath anchors you. Notice how the body softens. The worries may not disappear, but their grip loosens. The storm is still there, but you have found shelter. The Buddha also taught the power of present moment awareness. Anxiety thrives in the future. It feeds on what if. But the present moment is usually safe. Right now, as you listen to these words, you are breathing. You are alive. You are here. Anxiety tries to pull you into tomorrow, but mindfulness roots you in now. This is why practices such as mindful eating, mindful walking, or even mindful washing of dishes are so powerful. They train the mind to stay with what is real, not what is imagined. Impermanence is another antidote. When anxiety says, "This feeling will never end," impermanence whispers, "Everything changes." Remember a past anxiety that consumed you. At the time, it felt endless, but it passed. This one will too. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence is not abstract. It is medicine. It reminds us that even the darkest night turns to dawn. Even the deepest fear eventually fades. To hold on to impermanence is to hold on to hope. Compassion is essential as well. Anxiety often breeds shame. We judge ourselves. Why can't I relax? Why am I so weak? Everyone else seems fine. These judgments tighten the knot of anxiety. But when we meet ourselves with compassion, the knot begins to loosen. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper to yourself, "This is hard. I am doing my best. May I be at peace." These words may feel awkward at first, but with practice, they become a lifeline. The Buddha taught that compassion is the antidote to suffering, and this includes the suffering we inflict upon ourselves. There is also wisdom in letting go of control. Anxiety thrives on the illusion that if we just plan enough, predict enough, prepare enough, we can prevent every danger. But life is uncontrollable. No amount of worry can guarantee safety. The Buddha compared clinging to control to holding a rope that is burning your hands. The tighter you grip, the more you suffer. Freedom comes not from control, but from release. This does not mean carelessness. It means doing what you can, then releasing what you cannot. It means planting seeds, but trusting the rain and sun to do their part. Anxiety often feels like a storm inside the body. Racing heart, sweaty palms, shallow breath. These sensations are real, but they are not dangerous. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from pain itself, but from the story we add to it. A racing heart becomes, "I'm dying." A tight chest becomes, "I'll never be okay." But if you observe the sensations as they are, just a racing heart, just a tight chest, they lose their power. You see them rise, peak, and fade. This is the practice of equanimity, meeting each moment as it is, without adding layers of fear. And then there is community. Anxiety isolates. It tells you that you are alone in your fears, that no one else understands. But when you speak your worries aloud, when you share your struggles, you discover the truth. You are not alone. Others carry the same burdens. Others wake at night with restless minds. Others fight the same shadows. In Buddhist tradition, the Sangha, the community, is one of the three treasures. It reminds us that healing is not only an individual journey, it is collective. To walk with others is to remember that we belong. Let us pause again. Take a breath. Notice the sounds around you. Notice the ground beneath you. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Right now, in this very moment, you are safe. The future may be uncertain, but this moment is steady. This moment is yours. And this moment is always available, no matter how strong anxiety becomes. As we continue deeper into this part of the journey, we will explore more stories, more practices, more truths that can soften anxiety's grip. We will see that while anxiety feels like an enemy, it can also be a teacher. It reveals where we cling too tightly. It reveals where we have forgotten impermanence. It reveals where we have withheld compassion from ourselves. And in this revelation lies the doorway to freedom. Anxiety is like a thief. It steals moments, that are not yet lived. It steals sleep, joy, peace, and replaces them with shadows of what might be. And the greatest tragedy is that most of what it warns us about never actually happens. We lose today because of fears about tomorrow. The Buddha saw this clearly. He said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." This teaching is simple, but it is also revolutionary, because the mind that clings to the past and fears the future is a mind in chains. The mind that rests in the present is free. But how do we train the mind to stay in the present when anxiety is so loud? The answer is practice. Just as a muscle grows stronger with exercise, presence grows stronger with repetition. One of the most effective practices is mindful breathing. The Buddha taught, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. This may sound too simple, but the breath is always here. When the mind runs wild, the breath is an anchor. Each inhale is a reminder. Here, each exhale is a release. Now, slowly, the wild horse of the mind begins to calm. Not another practice is labeling thoughts. When an anxious thought arises, what if I fail? Instead of following it into a spiral, you simply say, thinking. Then you return to the breath. Another thought comes. What if something bad happens? Again, you say, thinking. Each time you name it, you create distance. You remind yourself, this is just a thought, not reality. The thought passes, and you remain. This is mindfulness in action. Sometimes, anxiety disguises itself as control. We make endless lists, rehearse conversations, prepare for every possible outcome. Planning is useful, but over-planning is anxiety's trap. The Buddha taught the middle way, not too tight, not too loose. This applies to control. Do what is reasonable. Prepare where you can, but know where preparation ends and clinging begins. The practice is learning to let the rest unfold. Life is uncertain. The path is not always clear, but trust grows when you realize that you have already survived countless uncertain moments before. You will survive this one too. Consider the parable of the raft. The Buddha said his teachings are like a raft used to cross a river. Once you reach the other shore, you do not carry the raft on your back. You leave it behind. In the same way, our coping strategies are like rafts. Some are useful for a time, but if we cling to them forever, they become burdens. Anxiety often clings to old strategies, overthinking, avoiding, controlling. These worked once, but now they weigh us down. The path of wisdom is to recognize when it is time to put the raft down, to trust that new ways of being will arise. Compassion is the great healer of anxiety. Imagine your anxiety not as a monster, but as a frightened child. When a child cries, you do not scream at them to stop. You hold them, you soothe them, you remind them they are safe. What if you treated your own anxious mind the same way? Each time the worry arises, instead of saying, "Why can't I stop?" you say, "I see you. I know you are afraid. I am here with you." This simple shift transforms anxiety from an enemy into a part of yourself that needs care. Slowly, the child calms. Slowly, your mind learns safety. The Buddha also spoke of right view, the practice of seeing clearly. Anxiety clouds vision. It makes small problems look enormous. It makes unlikely fears seem certain. Right view is stepping back and asking, is this true? Is this happening now? Is this thought helpful? Most often, the answer is no. By questioning the stories anxiety tells, we weaken their power. We return to reality, which is almost always gentler than our imagination. Community, too, plays a vital role. Anxiety thrives in silence. It grows stronger when hidden. But when shared, it loses force. To tell a friend, "I am struggling," To hear them say, "Me too," is a powerful medicine. In Buddhist practice, the Sangha, the community of practitioners, exists for this reason. Alone, the mind feels overwhelmed. Together, the heart remembers its strength. Anxiety may not vanish, but it becomes lighter when carried with others. And then there is joy. Anxiety convinces us that joy is irresponsible, that we must always be on guard. But joy is not the enemy of seriousness. Joy is the antidote to fear. The Buddha encouraged his followers to cultivate joy in simple things. A bird singing, a flower blooming, a child laughing. These small joys are anchors in the storm. They remind us that even while fear exists, beauty exists too. The practice is to let joy in, even for a moment, and allow it to balance the weight of worry. Finally, we return to impermanence. Anxiety says, "This will last forever." Impermanence says, "This too will pass." Think of every anxious night you have endured. Think of every fear that kept you awake. How many of those fears came true? How many dissolved into nothing? And even when hardship did arrive, you found a way through. You are here now. You survived. This is proof that anxiety is not the end. It is only a wave, and every wave eventually falls back into the sea dot. As we close this part of our journey, take one more breath. Inhale peace. Exhale fear. Feel your body. Hear your heart beating, your breath flowing. Anxiety may return tomorrow, or even in the next moment. But now you have tools: mindfulness, compassion, impermanence, community, joy. Each one is a lantern. Each one lights the path. And with each step, you walk not as a prisoner of anxiety, but as a student of it. You walk not as a victim of fear, but as a practitioner of freedom. Anxiety is not the end of suffering, only one of its forms. Beyond it lies another struggle, one deeply tied to the human condition, the restless search for identity, the endless attempt to prove who we are, to hold on to an image that constantly shifts. In the next part of our journey, we will explore this longing for self, this clinging to identity, and the freedom that comes when we finally see through the illusion of a fixed me. From the time we are children, a single question echoes. Around us, who are you? At first, the answer is simple. A name, a family, a place. But as we grow, the question becomes heavier. Who am I really? Am I successful enough? Attractive enough? Respected enough? Am I defined by what I own, what I achieve, what others think of me? In modern life, the search for identity has become a restless chase, one that leaves many exhausted. Anxious and lost, we live in a world obsessed with labels. Business cards announce careers. Social media profiles showcase curated selves. Clothes, cars, and possessions become costumes we wear to prove something, sometimes to others, sometimes to ourselves. But beneath the surface, doubt lingers. What if they see the real me and decide I'm not enough? This doubt drives people to constantly edit, adjust, and protect their image, clinging to an identity that feels fragile. And when the identity cracks, when the job is lost, the body ages, or the relationship ends, the suffering feels unbearable. Because if I am no longer this label, then who am I? The Buddha called this clinging to self-atta, the illusion of a permanent, unchanging identity. He taught that what we call self is actually a collection of parts: body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. These parts shift constantly, like waves on the sea. To cling to them as if they form a solid. Me is to invite suffering. Imagine grasping a handful of water, trying to hold it tight. The harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. This is the human condition. We cling to what cannot be clung to, and in the clinging, we suffer. Consider the person who defines themselves by their career. They rise through the ranks, proud of their achievements, introducing themselves with titles and awards. But one day the company closes or retirement arrives, and suddenly the identity shatters. Without the career, who are they? Or consider the person who clings to beauty. Compliments feed their self-worth. But as years pass and the mirror changes, each wrinkle feels like a threat, each gray hair a wound. Without beauty, who are they? Or consider the person who defines themselves through relationships. I am a parent, a spouse, a partner. But when divorce comes, or when children grow and leave, the identity dissolves and the question rises again, who am I now? The Buddha's answer is radical. You are not a fixed self at all. You are a process, a flow, a dance of changing elements. To cling to a fixed self is to fight reality. To let go of that illusion is to discover freedom. This teaching does not mean you do not exist. It means you exist differently than you imagine. Like a flame, you are real, but always moving, always changing. Like a river, you flow, but no drop of water is permanent. At first, this truth may feel unsettling. We want something solid to hold on to. But look deeper. If you are not fixed, then you are free. Free to grow, free to change, free to release the heavy burden of protecting an image. Think of the relief when you stop pretending, when you no longer need to prove yourself to everyone around you. That relief is the taste of freedom from ego. In daily life, ego shows itself in endless ways. In the need to win every argument. In the jealousy that arises when others succeed. In the anger when we feel disrespected. Ego whispers, you must be seen, you must be right, you must be more. But beneath this whisper is fear, the fear of being nothing, the fear of being invisible. The Buddha taught that when we cling to ego, we live in fear. But when we release ego, we live in peace. Because no insult can diminish what does not need protecting. No loss can destroy what was never solid. There is a story of a monk insulted by a villager. The villager shouted, mocked, tried to provoke him. The monk smiled and walked on, unaffected. Later, a disciple asked, Master, why did his insults not disturb you? The monk replied, if someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, to whom does it belong? To the giver. His anger is his, not mine. I have nothing to defend, so nothing was harmed. This is the power of letting go of ego. When there is no rigid self to protect, insults find no target. But how do we practice this in our own lives? The Buddha offered many tools. Mindfulness is one. Each time you feel anger, jealousy, or pride, pause. Ask, what am I protecting right now? What identity am I clinging to? Perhaps it is the identity of being right, of being admired, of being in control. Naming, it helps loosen the grip. You begin to see the ego at work, and in that seeing, freedom grows. Another practice is humility, not the false humility of pretending to be less than you are, but the honest humility of knowing you are neither above nor below anyone else. The Buddha said, do not think highly of yourself or lowly of yourself. Think rightly of yourself. This balanced view dissolves the constant comparison that ego thrives on. Instead of asking, am I better than them? Am I worse? You ask, am I living with compassion? Am I living with wisdom? These are the measures that matter. Compassion, too, is a doorway out of ego. When we focus only on ourselves, the self grows heavy. But when we turn outward, when we serve, when we love, the self softens. Acts of kindness remind us that we are not isolated identities, but parts of a vast web of life. Ego says, this is mine, my success, my suffering. Compassion says, we are connected. Your joy is my joy. Your pain is my pain. In this shift, the walls of self begin to crumble, Impermanence also helps dissolve ego. Each time you see change, you are reminded nothing is fixed, not even the self. Watch a child grow into an adult. Watch your own thoughts shift moment to moment. Watch your body heal from illness, then age again. The self you clung to yesterday is not the self of today. When you truly see this, ego loses its grip. You stop demanding permanence from what is fluid. Let us take a breath here. Imagine exhaling the need to prove, the need to impress, the need to cling to labels. Imagine inhaling freedom, spaciousness, possibility. This is the practice of releasing identity, not to erase who you are, but to free yourself from the prison of ego. As we continue deeper into this part of the journey, we will explore more stories, more insights, and more practices for loosening the chains of ego. Because identity, while useful for daily life, is not the truth of who you are. And when you see through the illusion, when you release the need to cling, you discover something far greater, the peace of being no one and everyone at once. The question, who am I, is powerful, but it can also be a trap. Because when we spend our lives searching for one fixed answer, we miss the truth that the answer is always changing. The Buddha compared the self to a chariot. When you look at a chariot, you call it one thing. But in reality, it is wheels, axles, wood, nails, rope. Take these apart, and the chariot disappears. It was never a solid entity. It was always a collection of parts. In the same way, what we call me is body, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, consciousness. Together, they create the appearance of a person. But look closely, and there is no solid self to be found. This realization can feel unsettling at first. If there is no permanent me, then what am I? But the teaching is not meant to erase you. It is meant to free you. Because if you are not fixed, then you are not limited. You are not trapped by your past mistakes, not chained to your current roles, not doomed by your labels. You are free to change, free to grow, free to let go. The illusion of a solid self creates suffering. The truth of fluidity creates liberation. In modern life, identity is treated like armor. People protect it fiercely. They defend their opinions as if their very existence depended on being right. They guard their reputations as if one rumor could destroy their essence. They cling to careers, appearances, achievements, as if without them they would vanish. But the Buddha taught that this armor does not protect. It weighs us down. It turns life into a battle where every disagreement is a threat, every failure a death, every loss a collapse of who we are. When the armor drops, what remains is openness. You no longer need to win every argument. You no longer need to prove yourself constantly. You no longer need to fear change. Imagine the relief of walking through life without carrying the heavy shield of ego. You are lighter, freer, more able to meet others with kindness because you are no longer locked in the prison of self-protection. There is a story of two monks crossing a river. One carried a woman across on his back, even though monks were not supposed to touch women. Hours later, the other monk said, "How could you do that? You broke the rule." The first monk replied, "I set her down at the riverbank. Why are you still carrying her?" This story is about more than rules. It is about identity. The second monk clung to the identity of being pure, being correct, being righteous. His ego made him carry the burden long after the event was over. The first monk, free of clinging, carried no burden at all. Which one was truly at peace? This teaching invites us to ask, what identities are we still carrying? Perhaps the identity of being the victim, holding tightly to old wounds. Perhaps the identity of being the achiever, never resting, always proving. Perhaps the identity of being the caretaker, always giving, never allowing ourselves to receive. These roles may serve a purpose for a time, But when we cling to them, as if they define us forever, they become prisons. The path of wisdom is to use identities lightly, like tools, and to set them down when they no longer serve. Another way to loosen ego is through service. When you shift attention from me to we, the self softens. Acts of kindness dissolve the sharp edges of ego. Helping a neighbor, listening to a friend, volunteering time, these acts remind us that life is not about polishing an image, but about being present for others. Service does not erase you. It expands you. It connects you to something larger. Ego shrinks when the heart grows. Meditation, too, is a powerful mirror. Sit quietly and watch the mind. Thoughts arise. I am tired. I am bored. I am anxious. Notice how each one begins with I. But look closer. Where is this I? It is not in the thought. It is not in the body. It is not in the breath. The more you watch, the more you realize that I is not solid. It is a habit of language, a habit of thought. Beneath it lies awareness, silent, spacious, open. Awareness does not need identity. It simply is. Resting in awareness, you touch the freedom that identity cannot give. But what about ambition? What about goals? Some fear that without ego, life will lose direction. But the Buddha did not teach passivity. He taught intention. The difference is this: ego-driven ambition says, I must achieve to prove my worth. Intention says, I act from compassion, from wisdom, from clarity. At first creates tension, anxiety, competition. The second creates focus, energy, joy. Life without ego is not aimless. It is purposeful, but the purpose is no longer about defending me. It is about serving life itself. Impermanence, once again, is the guiding light. Each time we see change, we remember the self we cling to today is already gone tomorrow. And this is not tragedy. This is freedom. Like seasons shifting, like rivers flowing, like clouds drifting, we are not meant to be fixed. We are meant to evolve. The Buddha called this truth anatta, no self. To see it is to release the tight fist of ego and open the hand of freedom. As we close this part of the journey, let us pause for a moment of reflection. Breathe in and feel the body alive. Breathe out and release the armor of identity. Whisper silently, I am not my labels. I am not my fears. I am not my past. I am awareness, vast and free. Feel the space that opens when you let go of the need to define yourself. That space is peace. That space is possibility. Identity will always be a temptation. The world will always try to define you, and the ego will always try to protect itself. But with mindfulness, compassion, humility, and the wisdom of impermanence, you can live lightly. You can use roles without being trapped by them. You can face insults without being wounded, face change without fear, face life with open hands. And beyond identity lies another challenge, one that touches every human heart: the craving for pleasure, the chase for constant stimulation, the restless desire for more. In the next part of our journey, we will explore desire not as an enemy, but as a teacher. We will see how the endless chase for pleasure leads to suffering, and how the Buddha's wisdom offers another way, the freedom of contentment. The joy of enough. Desire is woven into the fabric of human life. From the moment we are born, we reach. The infant cries for milk. The child longs for toys. The teenager craves attention, love, and belonging. The adult chases careers, possessions, pleasures. Desire itself is not the problem. It is natural to want food when we are hungry, warmth when we are cold, love when we are lonely. The problem arises when desire becomes craving, when the wanting has no end, when the hunger grows even after being fed. In today's world, craving is everywhere. Advertisements promise happiness with every product. Phones deliver endless stimulation at the swipe of a finger. Entertainment, shopping, food, sex, success, everything is available instantly, yet nothing ever feels like enough. We tell ourselves, if I just get this, then I'll be satisfied. But the moment we have it, the satisfaction fades and the chase begins again. Like drinking salt water to quench thirst, craving leaves us thirstier the more we consume. The Buddha saw this clearly. He named craving tanha as one of the core causes of suffering. He described it as a fire, burning without end, craving for pleasure, craving for existence, craving for non-existence. These flames drive human behavior, pushing us to chase, to cling, to escape. And as long as we are consumed by craving, peace remains out of reach. Consider the craving for material things, a new phone, a new car, a bigger house. At first, the excitement is real. We feel happier. But soon the shine fades, and the mind looks for the next upgrade. This cycle is called the hedonic treadmill. No matter how much we acquire, we return to the same baseline of dissatisfaction. The Buddha described this cycle long before. Psychologists gave it a name. He saw that craving does not end with fulfillment. It ends only with wisdom. Consider the craving for pleasure through the body food, sex, entertainment. Each brings momentary joy, but also carries the seed of suffering. Eat too much, and the body aches. Chase lust endlessly, and relationships fracture. Drown in distraction, and the mind grows restless, unable to sit still. None of this means pleasure is evil. The Buddha did not deny pleasure. He warned against enslavement to it. When pleasure becomes the master, suffering follows. Then there is the craving for recognition, the desire to be admired, respected, validated. We want our work acknowledged, our beauty noticed, our opinions praised. When approval comes, we feel inflated. When it does not, we feel deflated. In truth, our worth rises and falls with the shifting winds of others' opinions. This craving leaves us fragile, always dependent on forces beyond our control. There is also the craving to escape pain. We numb ourselves with distractions, with substances, with endless busyness. But the more we run from discomfort, the more it chases us. The Buddha taught that suffering must be faced, not avoided. To run is to multiply it. To turn toward it with awareness is to transform it. The Buddha's teaching on craving was not a condemnation. It was compassion. He saw how humans suffer because they chase shadows, mistaking them for lasting happiness. His message was not stop desiring, but see desire clearly. See that craving never satisfies. See that contentment comes not from adding more, but from needing less. There is a famous parable. A man was shot with a poisoned arrow. Instead of pulling it out, he insisted on knowing who shot it, what the arrow was made of, what direction it came from. He died while waiting for answers. In the same way, humans suffer while endlessly analyzing their desires, chasing them, justifying them. The Buddha urged, pull out the arrow. See craving for what it is. Do not be consumed by it. So, what is the alternative? If not craving, then what? The answer lies in the middle path, between indulgence and denial. The Buddha himself lived both extremes. As a prince, he enjoyed luxury and excess. As an ascetic, he practiced harsh deprivation. Neither brought freedom. It was only when he walked the middle way that he found liberation. This middle way does not mean rejecting pleasure. It means enjoying it without clinging. It means appreciating without becoming enslaved. Think of eating a ripe fruit. You savor the sweetness, the texture, the nourishment. And then, when it is gone, you let it go. You do not obsess over it. You do not crave endlessly for more. You are content with the joy it gave in that moment. This is mindful enjoyment, pleasure without chains. Mindfulness transforms desire. When craving arises, pause. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice the tightness, the urgency, the hunger. Ask yourself, will this truly satisfy me, or will it leave me wanting more? Sometimes the answer is clear. This is a need, and fulfilling it brings balance. Other times, you see the truth. This is craving, and fulfilling it will only fuel the fire. By watching desire instead of obeying it blindly, you step out of its grip. Another antidote is gratitude. Craving focuses on what is missing. Gratitude focuses on what is present. When you give thanks for the meal in front of you, the roof above you, the breath within you, the fire of craving cools. Because gratitude whispers, this is enough. And in enough, peace is born. Generosity, too, weakens craving. Each act of giving loosens the fist of desire. When you share your time, your resources, your love, you remind yourself that joy comes not from accumulation, but from connection. Craving isolates. Generosity connects. And connection is the true nourishment of the heart. Finally, the practice of impermanence reveals the futility of craving. Every pleasure fades. Every possession ages. Every achievement passes. To cling is to suffer. To let go is to be free. When you deeply understand impermanence, you begin to enjoy without attachment, to love without clinging, to live without fear of loss. Let us pause. Take a breath. Inhale awareness. Exhale craving. Feel the space that opens when desire is seen clearly. That space is not empty. It is filled with peace, with joy, with freedom. This is the taste of contentment, the taste of liberation. As we move deeper into this part of the journey, we will explore stories and practices that show how desire, when understood, can become not an enemy, but a teacher. A teacher that reveals where we cling, where we grasp, where we forget the truth of impermanence. And in that revelation lies the doorway to freedom. The freedom of enough. Desire can feel intoxicating. The moment before we get what we want is charged with energy, heart racing, mind spinning, body restless. We imagine the joy of possession, the satisfaction of fulfillment. But once the object is ours, the energy fades. The meal is eaten, the promotion accepted, the new possession unwrapped. Almost immediately, the mind shifts to the next target. This restless cycle is the hallmark of craving. It never ends. It gives a taste of sweetness, then leaves behind emptiness. The Buddha compared craving to drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. Modern life proves this truth daily. Social media thrives on craving likes, comments, new followers. Each notification gives a hit of pleasure, but it is fleeting, so we check again and again, feeding the cycle. Consumer culture thrives on craving new gadgets, fashion trends, endless upgrades. Each purchase excites, but soon it feels ordinary. So we buy again. Pleasure itself is not the trap. The clinging is not, and clinging is costly. It costs peace. It costs health. It costs relationships. Think of the person who sacrifices family time chasing endless wealth, or the one who destroys their health through indulgence in food or substances, or the one who pushes away love because they crave constant validation from strangers. Craving consumes life like fire consumes wood. It leaves behind ashes of regret, but desire is not only destructive, it can also be instructive. It shows us where we are attached. It reveals the illusion that happiness lies outside. The Buddha did not say we must kill desire. He said we must understand it. When you look closely, you see that desire is energy. That energy can be directed. Craving binds when it is blind. Desire liberates when it is guided by wisdom. This is why the Buddha spoke of wholesome desires, the desire for peace, for compassion, for awakening. These are not cravings for ego's pleasure. They are aspirations that uplift, wanting to live ethically, wanting to cultivate mindfulness, wanting to help others. These are desires that lead to freedom rather than bondage. The difference lies in whether the desire clings or releases, whether it enslaves or frees. There is a story of a farmer who came to the Buddha, overwhelmed by worry. His crops might fail, his family might fall ill, his children might disobey. He listed problem after problem. The Buddha listened patiently and then said, "I cannot help you with your 83 problems, but I can help you with the 84th. A farmer asked, "What is the 84th? The Buddha replied, "That you think you should not have any problems." This story reminds us, desire often disguises itself as the hope for a perfect life free of difficulty. But life will never be free of problems. The suffering comes not from the problems themselves, but from the craving for life to be other than it is not. So how do we transform desire? First, by awareness. Each time a craving arises, notice it. Where in the body do you feel it? A tightness in the chest? A pull in the stomach? A restless energy in the mind? Observe without judgment. The act of noticing weakens the compulsion. Second, by inquiry. Ask, what am I really seeking here? Is it the object itself, or is it the feeling I think it will give me? Often, we discover that beneath craving lies a deeper need for safety, for love, for peace. When we address the deeper need directly, craving loses power. Third, by substitution. Replace unwholesome cravings with wholesome desires. Instead of craving endless possessions, cultivate the desire to live simply. Instead of craving constant praise, cultivate the desire to practice kindness. Instead of craving escape, cultivate the desire to face life with courage. In this way, desire becomes fuel for growth rather than fire for destruction. Fourth, by practice of contentment. Each day, pause to say, this is enough. Enough food, enough shelter, enough love. This practice does not deny ambition or growth. It reminds us that peace does not wait on future fulfillment. It is available now, in gratitude for what already is. Fifth, by generosity. Each act of giving loosens the chains of craving. The more we share, the more we realize joy comes not from hoarding, but from connection. A meal tastes sweeter when shared. Money feels lighter when given. Time feels richer when spent in service. Generosity turns the energy of desire outward, transforming it into compassion. And finally, by remembering impermanence. Every pleasure fades, every possession breaks, every achievement passes. To cling is to suffer. To enjoy and release is to be free. Impermanence is not loss. It is liberation. Because when you stop demanding that things last forever, you can finally enjoy them fully while they are here. Let us pause for a moment. Take a slow breath. Feel the longing within you, not just for things, but for peace, for love, for meaning. Beneath all cravings lies this deeper longing. And this longing is not a curse. It is the compass that points toward awakening. It is the soul's reminder that true satisfaction is not outside, but within. As we close this part of the journey, carry this truth. Desire is not the enemy. It is the teacher. It shows you where you cling. It shows you where you forget impermanence. It shows you where you confuse shadows for substance. When seen clearly, desire becomes a doorway. And through that doorway lies the freedom of enough, the joy of simplicity, the peace of letting go. But craving is not the only fire that burns in modern life. Beyond it lies another burden, the constant pressure of comparison. Looking at others, measuring yourself against them, never feeling equal, never feeling enough. In the next part of our journey, we will turn toward this weight of comparison and envy and discover how the Buddha's wisdom offers a path out of the endless race of measuring worth. you see a neighbor's new car gleaming in the driveway, and a small pang stirs in your chest. A coworker receives a promotion, and while you smile politely, something inside tightens. A friend posts pictures of vacations, parties, achievements, and though you click like, a quiet ache whispers, "Why not me?" This is the pain of comparison. It creeps silently into our thoughts, turning life into a scoreboard, where every joy of others feels like proof of our own lack. Comparison is everywhere in modern life. Social media amplifies it, presenting highlight reels of success, beauty, and happiness. Rarely do we see the struggles behind the photos, the tears behind the smiles. And yet the mind believes what it sees. They are happy. They are successful. They are better. Each scroll deepens the wound. Each glance into someone else's life magnifies the sense of our own inadequacy. The Buddha saw this pattern long before technology magnified it. He understood that envy and pride are two sides of the same coin, both born from the illusion of self. When we compare, we either feel superior or inferior. Superior when we think, "I am better." Inferior when we think, "I am worse." Both distort reality. Both trap us in suffering. Because true peace does not come from being above or below anyone else. It comes from stepping off the ladder altogether. Think of a flower garden. The rose does not envy the lily. The sunflower does not compete with the daisy. Each blooms in its own time, in its own way, adding beauty to the whole. Imagine if humans lived with this same awareness that we are not meant to be identical, that each life has its own rhythm, its own purpose. The Buddha taught that clinging to comparison blinds us to our own unique path. Instead of cultivating our own garden, we spend life staring over the fence at someone else's. There is a story from the Buddhist tradition about a monk named Asanga. For years, he meditated, longing for enlightenment, but felt no progress. Frustrated, he left his cave. Along the road, he saw a man polishing an iron bar with a cloth. "What are you doing?" Asanga asked. The man replied, "I am polishing this bar into a needle." The persistence shocked Asanga. He returned to his practice with renewed patience. The lesson is clear. Each path is unique. Some bloom quickly, some slowly. Comparing your progress to others is like comparing the rose to the lily. Each has its own season. Comparison is not only painful, it is endless. No matter how much you achieve, someone will always seem richer, smarter, more beautiful, more admired. Even those at the top compare themselves to others still higher. The celebrity envies another's fame. The billionaire envies another's influence. This is the trap. There is no finish line. The moment you measure your worth by others, you condemn yourself to a race you can never win. The Buddhist teaching offers a radical alternative. Rejoice in the success of others. This practice is called mudita, or sympathetic joy. It means celebrating the happiness of others as if it were your own. When a friend prospers, you smile not with envy, but with genuine delight. When a colleague succeeds, you cheer instead of compare. At first, this feels unnatural. The ego resists. But with practice, mudita becomes liberation. Because each joy you witness becomes your joy too. The world suddenly offers endless reasons to be glad. Gratitude is another antidote. Comparison focuses on what we lack. Gratitude focuses on what we have. Each morning, pause to notice the gifts already in your life. The breath in your lungs, the roof above you, the people who care. The more you give thanks, the less room envy has to grow. Gratitude transforms the heart from scarcity to abundance, from measuring to receiving. Mindfulness also dissolves comparison. When envy arises, instead of pushing it away, observe it. Notice how it feels in the body, tightness in the chest, heat in the face, restlessness in the mind. Then ask gently, what story am I telling myself? Perhaps the story is, I am not enough. By seeing the story, you loosen its grip. You realize the envy is not truth. It is only a thought, a cloud passing through the sky. Impermanence once again offers perspective. Beauty fades, success shifts, wealth changes hands. The person you envy today may suffer tomorrow. The person you pity today may flourish tomorrow. Nothing stays the same. When you see this clearly, comparison loses weight. Why waste energy measuring fleeting states? Better to anchor in what endures compassion, wisdom, kindness. Let us pause. Here, think of someone you envy. Picture them clearly. Now silently wish them well. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with peace. Notice the shift. Perhaps a softening in the chest. Perhaps a release of tension. This is the power of mudita. Each time you practice, envy weakens, joy strengthens. But comparison is not only with others. We often compare ourselves with imagined versions of ourselves, the person we should be by now, the success we should have achieved, the life we should be living. These inner comparisons may be the most painful of all. They create shame, regret, self-criticism. The Buddha's wisdom invites us to release the word should, to meet ourselves where we are with compassion, to recognize that the path unfolds at its own pace, and that we are exactly where we need to be in this moment. As we continue deeper into this part of the journey, we will explore more practices and insights that free us from the prison of comparison. Because life is not a contest, it is a path, and peace is found not on the scoreboard, but in the quiet joy of walking your own way. Envy is often silent. It hides beneath smiles, beneath polite words of congratulations, beneath casual conversations. Yet inside, it gnaws. It whispers, you are behind. You are lacking. You are less. Left unchecked, envy hardens into bitterness, and bitterness poisons joy. It blinds us to our own blessings, turning abundance into scarcity. The Buddha understood this poison. He taught that envy, like anger and greed, is a hindrance, a cloud that blocks the light of wisdom. But the antidote is always available. When envy arises, the first step is recognition. Instead of denying it or feeling ashamed, say honestly, here is envy. By naming it, you shine light into the shadow. The second step is compassion for yourself. Envy is not a sign that you are evil or broken. It is a sign that you long for happiness. The problem is not the longing. The problem is the mistaken belief that your happiness depends on someone else's loss. When you see this, compassion softens the edge. The third step is transformation, turning envy into inspiration. Instead of thinking, they have what I lack, you can think, their success shows what is possible. The promotion, the achievement, the beauty of another, these can be reminders of human potential, not threats to your worth. In this way, envy becomes a teacher. It shows you what matters to you, where your own desires lie, where your own growth is calling. And then comes the practice of mudita, rejoicing in the joy of others. At first, this may feel forced, but with practice, it becomes real. You begin to see that joy is contagious. Each smile in the world increases your own chances of smiling. Each success in the world increases the light available to all. To celebrate others is to multiply joy. To envy others is to shrink it. Which do you choose? There is a story of a monk and a king. The king, proud of his riches, mocked the monk for having nothing. The monk replied, "You may have gold, but I have something greater. I rejoice when others prosper. Your happiness depends on your wealth. Mine depends on the happiness of all beings. Who then is richer?" This story reveals the secret of mudita. When you celebrate others, you inherit their joy as your own. Suddenly, the world is filled with reasons to be glad. Comparison also weakens when we remember uniqueness. Just as no two trees grow in the same way, no two lives unfold the same. You cannot compare the oak to the pine, the river to the mountain, the sunrise to the moon. Each has its place, its beauty, its purpose. You too have a unique path. To compare is to deny that uniqueness. To accept it is to live authentically, walking your own road with peace. Gratitude grounds this acceptance. Each day, reflect on 3 blessings in your life. They need not be grand. A warm meal, a kind word, a moment of rest. With practice, gratitude becomes a habit, and envy has less room to grow. Because gratitude whispers, I already have enough. And in enough peace is found, still comparison will arise. The mind is conditioned to measure. When it does, return to mindfulness. Notice the thought. Breathe. Let it pass. No thought lasts forever. No envy endures when met with awareness. Like a cloud drifting across the sky, it dissolves in the vastness of presence. Let us pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Picture someone you often compare yourself to. Notice the feelings that arise: envy, insecurity, longing. Breathe into them. Now silently repeat, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Feel the shift. Even a small softening is a victory. Each time you practice, the grip of comparison loosens and the heart grows lighter. As this part of the journey closes, remember, life is not a race. There is no finish line of worth. Each life unfolds in its own time, in its own way. To measure yourself against others is to miss the beauty of your own path. The Buddha's wisdom invites you to step off the ladder, to release the scoreboard, to walk freely, celebrate the joy of others, give thanks for your own blessings, and live each day as your unique expression of life. And yet, comparison is not the only source of pain. Beyond it lies another shadow, one that touches every human heart. The fear of death, the grief of loss, the sorrow of impermanence. In the next part of our journey, we will walk into this deepest of fears, not to deny it, but to see it clearly, and to discover in its heart the seed of liberation. There is a silence that follows loss, a silence so deep it feels like the world itself has stopped. The room looks the same, the clock still ticks, the sun still rises, but nothing feels the same. A loved one is gone, and the absence is louder than any sound. Grief presses on the chest, tightens the throat, clouds the mind. In this silence, questions rise. Why did this happen? How can I go on? What is the point of it all? Death is the universal certainty, yet it remains the greatest mystery. In modern culture, death is often hidden. We avoid talking about it. We hide it in hospitals, cover it with euphemisms, distract ourselves with busyness. Yet no distraction can erase the truth. Everything that lives will one day die. The Buddha called this truth impermanence, and he taught that to deny it is to suffer. To face it directly is to awaken. The pain of loss is not only in the moment of death. It begins with fear of losing those we love, fear of our own mortality. This fear shapes life in subtle ways. It makes us cling tighter, demand permanence, chase distractions to avoid the truth. And when loss does come, the fear becomes grief, raw and overwhelming. The Buddha did not deny this pain. He acknowledged it is part of the human condition, but he also showed a path through it, a path of acceptance, compassion, and liberation. There is a famous story of Kissa Gotami. Her child died, and she was overcome with grief. She carried the body to the Buddha, begging for medicine to bring him back. The Buddha told her to bring a mustard seed from any household that had not known death. She went door to door, but every family had lost someone. By the end of her search, she understood the truth. Death touches every life. Her grief softened in the light of this shared reality. She laid her child to rest and entered the path of awakening. This story reminds us, grief isolates, but truth connects. To see that death is universal is to remember we are not alone. Still, the heart resists. We want permanence. We want our loved ones to stay forever. We want our own lives to last without end. The Buddha taught that this clinging to permanence is the root of suffering, because life, by nature, is change. To demand otherwise is to fight reality, and reality always wins. The path is not to resist impermanence, but to embrace it, to see its beauty as well as its sorrow. For without impermanence, there would be no growth, no change, no possibility. The flower blooms because it will fade. The child grows because they will one day leave. Each moment is precious because it will not last. Mindfulness is the first step in facing loss. To sit with grief instead of running from it. To notice the heaviness, the tears, the ache. To say gently, this is grief, this is love in pain. Because grief is love that has nowhere to go. To deny it is to deny love itself. Mindfulness allows us to feel without drowning, to honor the pain without being consumed. Compassion is the second step, compassion for ourselves. Too often, people judge their grief. I should be stronger. I should be over it by now. These judgments add suffering to suffering. The Buddha taught that compassion begins at home. To place a hand on your heart and whisper, it is okay to hurt. It is okay to cry. May I be kind to myself in this pain? This kindness does not erase grief, but it softens it. Community is the third step. Grief isolates. It makes us feel as if no one could understand. But grief is universal, and when we share it, it lightens. A story told, a memory honored, a tear shared. These weave connection. In Buddhist practice, the Sangha, the community, is where we hold each other in sorrow as well as in joy. Alone, grief feels unbearable. Together, it becomes a shared journey. The Buddha also taught the contemplation of death, not as morbid obsession, but as a practice of awakening. To reflect daily, I too will die. Everyone I love will die. All that is dear to me will change and vanish. At first, this seems harsh, but with practice, it becomes liberating. It wakes us up. It reminds us not to waste time on trivial quarrels, on endless craving, on superficial pursuits. It sharpens our awareness of what truly matters: love, compassion, presence. To live with death in mind is to live more fully, more deeply, more authentically. Let us pause here. Take a breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. This breath is precious. One day, it will be your last. That truth is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to awaken you, to remind you that this breath, this moment, this life is a gift. Do not postpone joy. Do not postpone kindness. Do not postpone love. As we continue deeper into this part of the journey, we will explore how the Buddha's wisdom helps us face not only the grief of losing others, but also the fear of our own mortality. For within the acceptance of death lies the Ji. The fear of death is the shadow behind so much human suffering. It hides in our restlessness, our craving, our clinging. It whispers, time is running out. You must hold on. You must fight change. This fear is natural, but it is also the greatest illusion. Because death is not the enemy. Death is the mirror that shows us the truth of impermanence, the truth we try so hard to avoid. And when we face it directly, death becomes not terror, but teacher. The Buddha taught that all conditioned things are impermanent. To see this deeply is to free the mind. Imagine holding a clay pot. You know that one day it will break. Because you know this, you handle it with care, you cherish it while it lasts. In the same way, when you remember that life is fragile, you live more gently, more lovingly. You speak kinder words because you know you may not get another chance. You forgive faster because you know anger wastes precious time. You love more deeply because you know every embrace is finite. Death, when faced honestly, becomes the source of compassion. There is a story of a meditation practice in ancient Buddhist tradition. Monks would meditate in graveyards, sitting among the bones and ashes reflecting on the body's impermanence. At first, fear arose, but with time, peace grew. Because the truth became clear, the body will die, but awareness continues. The clinging self dissolves, but the vast flow of life goes on. This practice was not meant to be morbid. It was meant to strip away denial, to show the preciousness of each breath, and to remind practitioners that clinging only deepens suffering. Grief itself can become a teacher. Each wave of sorrow is proof of love. Each tear is the echo of connection. To grieve is not weakness, it is the price of having loved. The Buddha did not promise an end to grief. He promised a way to carry it with wisdom. By seeing grief as love transformed, we honor those we have lost. Their lives shaped us. Their love lives in us. When we embody kindness, patience, compassion, we carry them forward. In this way, nothing truly beloved is lost. Facing our own mortality is perhaps the greatest challenge. The mind resists. We imagine endless extensions, longer life, more possessions, more achievements, as if these will shield us from death. But the Buddha taught that awareness of death is not meant to paralyze. It is meant to awaken. To reflect, I too will die, is to remember, I do not have forever. My time is limited. What do I want to do with the gift of this life? What really matters? Modern life often treats death as failure. Hospitals fight to prolong life at any cost. Media glorifies youth and hides aging. But death is not failure. It is the natural conclusion of life. To accept this is to live more fully. Imagine two people. One denies death, filling life with distractions, clinging to illusions of permanence. The other faces death, and because of this chooses love over pride, presence over distraction, compassion over greed. Who lives more deeply? The one who accepts death. Mindfulness practices help us face mortality with steadiness. Each time you notice a breath, you are reminded, life is a series of moments. Each breath begins and ends. Each moment is born and dies. To watch the breath is to practice dying in miniature, and to discover that each ending gives rise to a new beginning. Death is not an end, but a continuation of change. Compassion expands as we face impermanence. When you see that everyone you meet will one day die, harshness softens. The person who annoys you, the stranger who cuts you off in traffic, the colleague who frustrates you, they too will die. They too carry grief. They too are fragile. Remembering this can transform anger into patience, resentment into understanding. Death reminds us that we are all equal in the face of impermanence. And in this shared mortality lies connection. Kisagami's story showed us this. Grief feels isolating, but death unites us all. No one escapes it. To know this is to walk with greater humility, greater tenderness. Instead of asking, why me? We begin to see, this is all of us. Let you pause for a moment. Close your eyes. Breathe. Think of someone you love deeply. Imagine their smile, their presence. Whisper silently, I cherish you now, because I know you will not always be here. Feel the tenderness this brings. Now think of yourself. Whisper, this life is precious. I will live it fully, because I know it will not last. This practice is not meant to sadden you. It is meant to awaken your heart. As we close this part of the journey, carry this truth. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is part of life. Loss is not punishment. Loss is the reminder of love. Impermanence is not cruelty. Impermanence is what makes each moment sacred. When we embrace this truth, we stop wasting time on trivialities. We live awake. We live kind. We live free. And yet, beyond the grief of loss and the fear of death lies another challenge: the constant noise of modern life. Distractions, technology, endless demands that scatter the mind and fracture our peace. In the next part of our journey, we will explore this noise, how it fragments us, and how the Buddha's wisdom can guide us back to silence, stillness, and the deep nourishment of presence.